CIT 1121, this is packet tracer 1782. We'll do this in three parts. We'll do router first, then we'll do the switches, then we'll do the PCs, and should get you from point A to point B. It's a good lab, very good lab. A lot of intuitive skills you need to start to remember, including subnetting. So you should be able to do the subnetting stuff in your head by now. If you can't do it in your head, check your chart. If you can't do it on the chart, go back and watch subnetting videos again, okay? All right, so this gives us some addressing space here that we're going to fill in. They give us the IPv6 information, but the IPv4 information we've got to figure out. So let's go ahead and start with router 1, which is the only router we need to configure here. We're going to configure these three interfaces, G00, G01, G02. Let's go ahead and go into the router. And it gives us a small subnet, and it says, okay, you're going to use 192.168.0.0/24. Break it into 4 subnets, of which one of them needs to be 100, one needs to be 50, one needs to be 25, and the other one is another 25 that you're not going to end up using. So the first subnet, whenever we're going to do variable size subnetting, we want to take the biggest network first. They were nice enough to put it across the top. So we're going to use 100 addresses here. So we'll just take the first 100 addresses that there is in that space. And let's go ahead and put it on the correct interface. A couple ways to figure that out. My favorite way to figure that out is I think it's going to be int G0/0. So I'm going to do G0/0 here, and I'm going to just do no shut first. And if I start with a no shut and it kicks up, I know I'm on the right interface. That just makes your life easier than having to point at the little triangles. I've probably shown you that a couple times in some other videos, but it's an important thing there. So IP address for this address, this device is going to be So this is going to be 0.1. We're going to use the first address on the router. That's going to give us the correct address for the points. We'll be able to score points here. I used a subnet mask of a /25 because this network only needs to be 128 total addresses. So we're going to just use 0 through 127. So we'll take 1 here. We'll use the second address on the switch. If you don't use the second address that's in the subnet on the switch, you don't score points. So just a heads up for that. All right, let's do the IPv6 addressing on this interface since we're here. So we'll do IPv6 address, and that's going to be 2001 DB8:1//1/64, and that's pretty good. And we'll do IPv6 address FE80:1 link local. That's our link local address. And we're going to use the same link local address on all the interfaces on router 1. For some unknown reason, they use all the same link local addresses on the PCs also, which generally you wouldn't do. It is kind of de facto standard to use the same link local on a router interface, so that G00 and G01 and G02 all the same link local. That's fine. That's fine. That's something that is done. I haven't seen that on PCs before, but I guess it could happen. So let's go back to this, and we've now set that piece up. So let's go and look at the other interfaces. So interface number 2 that we're going to do is going to be int G0/1, and start with a no shut just for fun, and we know that we're in the right place. This one's connected to sales, and we need 50 addresses. We just use 0 through 127, so we'll start at 128, and we'll go through 191. So our first available is going to be 129. So IP address throughout 129, 255. We only need 50 addresses here, so we'll use a block of 60, so that's going to be .192. And IPv6 address. And I'm just going to move that guy over here so I can look at those. 2001:DB8:1:1/64. Seems right. IPv6 address FE80:1 link local, and that one's done. All right, cool. All right, let's go down to interface G0/2, G0/2, so int G0/2, IP address. Okay, so we've used, up here we used 0 through 127, and here we used 128 to 191. So we need 25 hosts, and we're going to start at 192. So this network is going to go from 192 up to 223. And that's going to be a /27 because that'll give us 32 total addresses, 30 usable, which is good for 25. So we'll just go ahead and go with that. So 192.168.0. Let's see, we use 192, 193, 193. 0.193, 255.255.224. So that's a /30. That's 32 addresses. That's a /27. And that looks pretty much right to me. IPv6 address is written 2001 DB8 :ACAD :2 :1 /64. Same link local. We'll just do the same thing. And that piece is done. All right, cool. That looks pretty good. So addressing. Oh, I didn't. No shot. No shot that thing. Okay, so those interfaces I think are okay. Let's do a quick check on check results and see where we stand on that. And ports for the router do look like they're good. So pretty good space there. Let's go ahead and move forward with this and go through some of the commands that they're asking for in this space. So we'll just knock out what they're looking for from here to here, right? So let's go R1 and let's see what they're looking for. And we'll just go step by step. Configure the device name according to the address table. Well, it's called router 1, so let's just change the host name to R1. Seems good. Disable DNS lookup. That's a one-to-one command. That's no IP domain dash lookup. And that's set. Assign Cisco ENPA55 as the encrypted privileged level password. In English, enable secret. So we'll do enable secret and Cisco ENPA55. And that's done. And assign the Cisco CONPA55 as the console password and enable login. So let's go into the login console. So line con0 password is Cisco CONPA55, Cisco console password 55. Okay, sure, that sounds good. We'll do a login there, and it's going to. I'm just gonna spoiler alert. They're gonna want exact timeout of 5 minutes later, so I'm just gonna add that now. Oh, it doesn't even score points. Well, how lame. But it's coming up. So require that minimum 10 characters be used for all passwords. All right, that sounds good. Let's do an exit here. And we do that from global config. So we'll do security passwords min length. And that's 10 characters. So security password minimum 10 length. Good for that. Encrypt all plain text passwords, service password encryption. And that one's pretty easy. And create a banner for no authorized access. So let's go ahead and make a banner. So banner, MOTV, down. And it's done, so that's good. Configure and enable the gigabit Ethernet interface. Hey, we did this we did that stuff already. Configure SSH on router 1. So whenever we do SSH, you have to have a couple things. Number 1, you got to have a domain name. Number 2, you got to have a name for your router that's not router. So the router is already called router 1. Let's go ahead and set the domain name. So we'll do IP domain name. And they want us to set it as CCNA-lab.com. which is fine. We'll go ahead and set SSH, so IP SSH version 2. And they're like, okay, that sounds pretty good. How about creating some keys? So crypto key generate RSA key size 1024. Perfect. And let's go ahead and set that to the VTY line. So let's go line VTY 0 space 15. And now we're going to configure these lines. First thing we're going to do when we do the VTY line configuration is we're going to set it up so that it will look for SSH. So easy enough. So we'll do transport input SSH. And the second thing we're going to do is tell it to look to the local database for logins, because we don't have a radius or a TechX Plus at this point. So in CCNA, we don't cover that. And that's not too hard to do. So we'll do login local, which means local database, which we have nothing in right now, but that's okay, because the next thing we're going to do, is exec timeout 5, because I know that there's a command that says to do that someplace. And yeah, it's right below the next one that we're at. And let's go ahead and create a user. So we'll do an exit here from global config, username, admin1. It says with a privilege level of 15 and encrypted, and that password is going to be admin1pa55. So secret and admin1pa55. User created. Nice. And then the last step, we're all the way down here. We're basically at the end of the router. The last step is block anyone for 3 minutes who fails to log in after 4 attempts within a 2-minute period. Keep in mind, we're going to do these in seconds. We're counting in seconds on this command, not in minutes. So seconds would be pretty awesome, though. It would go really fast. And that command is login from global config. So login and then block for. And it wants to block for 3 minutes. So just for grins, let's just do a question mark here. Time period in seconds. So that's 180 seconds. And then attempts. And then how many attempts? And it says after 4 attempts. So 4. And then within how long? And number of period in seconds, and that's 120 seconds because that's 2 minutes. Okay, and that's set up. Let's check our results and see how we're doing on the router. So let's close that one up, and it looks like we are clear on the router for scoring. It scored out well, and I'll see you for switching in just a minute.